Hi guys, welcome back to Abby's Place, the place where no matter where you're at, you can always feel a little at home. If you're joining from Spotify, welcome. If you're joining from Apple Music, welcome. And special welcome if you're joining from YouTube because y'all can see me right now. If you don't know, I'm recording these episodes visually along with audibly. So if you want to put a face to the name or a face to the voice, go head over to YouTube and go subscribe to Abby's Place podcast. We have a good time. I've got a cozy little setup here. I've got my fireplace going. I've got my candles burning in the back. I've got fresh flowers next to me that smell amazing. Some candles in front of me. And I'm in some cozy sweats and my hoodie. And I'm just feeling very relaxed right now. But also, I am drinking a Red Bull. So sorry. ASMR. This is a sugar-free strawberry apricot Red Bull, and it is my kryptonite. It is the thing that I always end up going back to. I'm addicted to it. It's so good. But anyway, welcome back. Welcome back to I didn't sleep enough and I drank too much caffeine and I feel like I'm floating. Welcome back to my tummy hurts, but I'm being really brave about it. Welcome back to I'm going on an international trip in 2 days and I haven't done an ounce of packing yet. Welcome back to is this a fever dream or is this real life? I can't tell. If someone could let me know, that would be great. Guys, so much has happened this week. So much has happened this week. I think the real question is what hasn't happened this week. It's been 7 days since I last saw you guys, and it feels like it's been a lifetime. So I want to catch you guys up because holy shit, what's going on, right? Okay, so when we left off last week, I had just announced that I was going to Greece and skipping a half marathon. That is still happening. I also said in the last episode that I had invited a boy to Greece. I did do that. Unfortunately, his passport is expired. So that's a no-go. He's not coming. And then I last minute invited my friend Ave, but she has a wedding and so she's not going. So I'm going to Greece alone in 2 days, but I also am meeting the company that invited me. They also obviously have people going. So I'm going to be with a group the entire time, but like I will have a good amount of alone time, which honestly I'm really excited for. But I leave in 2 days and I haven't started packing yet. But let's rewind, okay? So last week, I was about to go to Salt Lake City to go see a concert with my friend. This is how the weekend played out. I left on Friday, drove to Salt Lake, 10 hours. I get to Salt Lake, I'm immediately greeted at my friend Ave's house with a glass of wine and sitting on her balcony and catching up on everything. And honestly, I needed that so bad. Ave and I have been friends since 2021. If you know her, she also is an influencer. And her TikTok is Ave Marin. She used to be Greenie Beanie 420, and she is an icon. She is the most hardworking person I know. She's 25 and runs so many businesses and is just so cool. So we met up. I hadn't seen her in like a month since the last time I was in Salt Lake City. So it's really good to hang out with her and her husband, Sam. They pampered me while I was there. Sam is a fantastic cook. So not only did we have wine the first night, but we had homemade pizza and he also made the dough and it was just... Oh my God. I have, like, when I'm cooking for myself, it is so simple because I'm so lazy that my breakfast every day is eggs, avocado, and a matcha. And that's it. And then I usually have like a sandwich or protein bar or something for lunch, something quick, and then I have a big dinner. For dinner, it's always rice, some kind of meat, like ground chicken, ground turkey, ground beef or steak, and some kind of vegetable. So... I'm a pretty boring girl. But anyway, Sam chefed it up and it was just amazing. It was so good to see them. And then we went to the role model concert on Saturday. So Saturday we wake up, we go get coffee, or we went for a hike. Yeah, we wake up, we went for a hike. Sam made us breakfast and then we went and got coffee and went thrifting, got a bunch of fun stuff. And then her and I went to the role model concert and it was packed. Okay, there was like 4 people that passed out in the crowd and it wasn't even hot outside. It was cold outside and raining. But inside it just got so cramped and hot that there were people passing out left and right, which was crazy. So they had to stop the show a few times, but it ended up being super fun. Ave and I were like on the side of the crowd. And fun fact, I'm pretty tall. I'm 5'10". Ave is 5'2", and so the height difference is just so funny. Whenever we film together, it looks like I'm her mom, but in reality, she's more of my mom. But when we were at this concert, the first probably 20 minutes, we were in the crowd when they were performing. The opener was on, and Ave couldn't tell that the opener was on because she couldn't see over the people's heads in front of us. So we ended up having to move to the side of the venue so that she could see better, and it was a whole thing. But it ended up being really fun. Role Model is such a great performer. He has amazing stage presence, and we just danced our little hearts out. And it was a really good time. And then afterwards we got ice cream and went back, and Sam made cookies, and we watched a movie, I think, and then went to bed. And it was very fun. And then the next day I got some work done, went and saw my grandparents because my grandparents live in Utah. Shout out grandparents. I went and saw them, and that was also very fun. We went to Cafe Rio. And then Ava and I hung out that night. And then on Monday, that was Monday. Tuesday, I left. So Tuesday, I drove back to Bend, which was not yesterday, but the day before. Today's Thursday. Drove back to Bend, got back to Bend, and since then, I have just been in my errands era. I have been running so many errands. But yesterday, I did make time to get a facial and a wax because I'm going to Greece, so I had to look my best, right? Might be in some swimsuits. Had to get the situation sorted. And I usually don't get facials because I don't really have acne, but my skin does get really dry. So anyway, I got a facial yesterday. I papered myself. It was amazing. But I'm going to Greece in 2 days, and I haven't started packing. Boy is not coming. I'm going alone. That kind of sums it up. I feel like I haven't really had time to get excited about Greece, though, because it's been so last minute, you know? The company that invited me only invited me like a week ago. I've had about a week to mentally prepare for this, and I've just had so much to do. So I haven't really had time to really be excited about like, holy shit, I'm going to Greece and I've never been. So I'm really trying to get in that headspace, but honestly, I'm just feeling really overwhelmed by everything right now, and I feel a little bit guilty for being overwhelmed because I'm going to Greece for free and getting paid, right? Like that's an opportunity of a lifetime, but in my head, I'm just like, this is so much to do. I have so much to do before I leave. Oh, also, when I was gone, I had my friend Bree watching Archie, and she is just the most amazing person ever. She's so kind. And I came back, and Homegirl had deep cleaned my entire house. And I did not expect that. I, frankly, would not have cared either way. Did not expect her to, literally deep clean my entire house. I mean, every single room in my house was spotless. And I came back, and that was just the most amazing present. It was just amazing to walk into a house that was so inviting and warm and clean, because I tend to be a clutterer. I tend to be kind of sporadic, and I leave stuff everywhere. It's just my brain. I have a really hard time putting it away and not just putting it down. And that's an ADHD thing. But Bree is also watching Archie while I'm gone in Greece, and I just feel really calm about it and very good, because I know that she's going to take really good care of him and that she's going to take care of this space that I've created. I'm pretty picky about who stays here. So anyway, that has been a load off my plate because she is an angel and Archie loves her. So Archie will be in good hands while I'm gone, but I am going to miss him. Anyway, I feel like onto the topic of this episode. I feel like I really haven't gotten to be excited about Greece because it's just been such short notice. But I have noticed that I am significantly less anxious about this trip than I have been about trips in the past. I've, been getting ready for it, and I've felt overwhelmed because there's so much stuff to do, but I don't feel anxious about the trip at all. And this is such a change from how I used to be before international trips. Well, trips in general, but especially going international. I used to be riddled with anxiety beforehand, to the point where a couple years ago, I was going to Europe to go see my then boyfriend for the summer. I was going to be there for 2 months. And before the trip, I had to go to weeks of therapy just to prepare for this trip. I was so scared. And I know why, but I don't know why it was so dramatic, because I had been to Europe before. I literally lived in Europe in a van before. But for some reason, I was so incredibly anxious about this that just the thought of getting on a plane and going there sent me into a spiral and full-on panic attacks. And so I had to do a lot of cognitive behavioral therapy before this trip. And the main thing being my phobia. If you don't know, I have a phobia of throwing up. And so travel can be really intimidating for me because plane rides, motion sickness, people in a plane, you get sick. I've caught so many colds from being on planes. Your immune system is down and all that kind of stuff. And before that trip, was so anxious about being on this plane and having someone get like motion sick next to me. This is a funny story. Okay, guys, buckle in. I didn't plan to talk about this in this episode, but you know what? We're going to, because it's tea and it's really interesting and it's very ironic. And to me, it's really funny now because this happened like 2 years ago. So get ready, one sec. So, POV. It's 2 years ago and I'm getting ready for this trip and I'm going to see my therapist because I just have made this scenario up in my head that I'm going to be on this plane ride and someone's going to get motion sick next to me. I don't know why. I thought of this. This has never happened to me before. This has never happened. I have never gotten, knock on wood, motion sick to the point of like feeling like I was actually going to get sick. And also I've never had someone get sick next to me on a plane. So knock on wood again. But for some reason I had made it up in my head that this was going to happen and I was terrified. And so I'm seeing this therapist online, and she was a cognitive behavioral therapist specializing in phobias. So she really, really, really helped me with this because in the past I had seen therapists that they would kind of enable me instead of like when I would say, I'm really scared of this happening. I'm really scared of someone getting sick next to me. They would say, oh, well, that will never happen, so you don't have to worry about it. Like, that's irrational. You know it's irrational. Don't even worry about it. And I would say, okay, but I'm still going to worry about it. Okay, you can tell me not to worry about it. Guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to worry about it. And so instead, this therapist that I was seeing, I would say, I'm really scared of this happening. And she goes, okay, let's play out the scenario. Let's play out the scenario and let's figure it out start to end. So you'd play out the scenario. Okay, you're on the plane. Someone starts getting sick next to you. What's your response? How are you feeling? What do you do? And I would say, I'm feeling really anxious, and I start to freak out and I have a panic attack. She goes, okay, so you're having a panic attack. What happens next? And I had never played out the situation in my head before of what happens after the panic attack. The situation always ended at the panic attack of this sucks and I'm going to die. You know, your body's response to danger, right? So I go, okay, I'm having a panic attack. She's getting sick. They're getting sick next to me. I wait for a moment where they go to the bathroom, or I wait for a moment where they stop getting sick and I can get up. And she goes, okay, what do you do? I get up and I go find a flight attendant and I ask them to move me seats. Okay, you find a flight attendant and they move you seats. What do you do? I go grab my stuff, I move seats, and I go to my other seat and I calm myself down. And she goes, okay, are you safe? Yeah. Is your anxiety going away? Yeah. Okay, so you played it out and you were fine. So what are you scared of? Oh shit. Well, I guess I don't really have anything to be scared of. And so we did this. We did a lot of this visualizing practice and that's what cognitive behavioral therapy is retraining your brain through these scenarios and deprogramming your anxiety. And so anyway, flash forward to the trip. I had a flight from Seattle to New York and then New York to Portugal because I don't know why I was flying into Portugal actually. Maybe it was from Seattle to Portugal and then from Portugal to... No, it was definitely Seattle to New York to Portugal. I don't know why I stopped in Portugal. I don't even know. But I stopped in Portugal for a night and then from Portugal I flew to wherever I was flying to. Italy, I think. Italy, yeah. So I get on my flight from Seattle to New York and everything goes smoothly. I'm fine. I think I slept through most of it. Very chill flight. I'm feeling good. Feeling good about everything, right? I get on my next flight from New York to Portugal, and I think it was like a 6-hour flight. And as I'm walking on the plane, I had a window seat, and it was like window seat, aisle seat, and then the 3 middle seats, and then like the other row. So it was the 3-row planes. It was one of the big ones. And the girl who was sitting next to me, who had the aisle seat, was like, hey, do you mind if you switch with my husband, who's in the middle seat in the middle aisle? So we can sit together. And I was like, I'm so sorry. I normally would, but having the window seat is really good for my anxiety. And I just I need to have the window seat so I can be able to see, because I do kind of get really claustrophobic in planes and it can make my anxiety a lot worse. So anyway, I'm sitting there and she was like totally fine. So we take off, everything's chilling. I'm like watching a movie, I have my noise canceling headphones on, and I feel good. And all of a sudden, the lights are off because it's an overnight flight. So the lights are off and I'm just watching my movie. And then I look next to me and I hear her coughing. And I was like, okay, whatever. And she had a mask on beforehand, so I was like, maybe she just has like a cold or something. And then I look over and I see her hunched over, and her back is like shaking, and I can't hear anything because I have my noise canceling headphones on, thank God. So her back is shaking, and I was like, fuck, is this really happening right now? And I was like, no, Abby, you're being crazy. This is not happening. And then I see her holding a bag, and I said, it's fucking happening. I said, your worst fear that you've been prepping for months is happening. I had been going to therapy about this. I had been so terrified of this exact scenario happening. I look at her, she's puking into a bag, and I was like, what the fuck do I do? Because I had literally told her I didn't want to switch her seats so that I was in the, it's so ironic. I told her I didn't want to switch seats so that I was by the window, and then I'm trapped by the window while she's getting sick. The universe is so fucking funny when it comes to that kind of stuff, because I set this up for myself, right? I manifested the shit out of that. And so it's happening, and I had Wi-Fi on the plane, so I'm texting my mom, and I said, Mom, it's happening. Like, code red, my worst fear. And I'm crying, and I'm shaking, and I can't breathe, and I'm having a panic attack. And I'm trying to do my deep breathing. I'm breathing in my essential oils that I brought on the plane. I took another Zofran and Zofran is an anti-nausea medication. I took another Zofran just to try to calm me down and make sure that I didn't get sick, because my anxiety makes me nauseous. And so I'm freaking out. And finally she gets up to go to the bathroom, and I book it to the back to go find a flight attendant. And I get back there, and I am just like a mess. I'm sobbing, my hands are shaking, and I'm like about to pass out. And I find a flight attendant, and I said, I need you to move me seats. Like, I am having a panic attack. I really, like, I'll take fucking anything. I will take any seat. I will sit on the floor if I have to. I will sit back here with you guys. I need to move. And she goes, okay, I totally understand. Let me see what I can do. And so she walks away for a second, comes back, and goes, okay, I'm going to go grab all your stuff from your seat so you don't have to deal with that. And you're going to come up to the seat with me. And she moves me to first class. And sits me down. She got me a hot towel and a tea and is like, is there anything I can do for you? And I was like, no, thank you so much. And I sit there and I'm breathing. And then all of a sudden I just get this wave of like, oh my God, you did it. Oh my God, you just overcame your worst fear. Holy shit, that's crazy. And I was really proud of myself. So after that, everything kind of started to change for me in terms of my phobia. I started to get a lot more confident with dealing with it. And the reason I have the phobia is a lot of childhood trauma, but basically my older sister way back when I was 5, passed away from bulimia. So it's programmed in my brain that throwing up equals dying, you know? That's a whole other story. But anyway, all that to say, sorry, that was a very long side tangent that I did not plan to talk about. So I'm going to try to get through the next part pretty quick. But all that to say, I've grown a lot since then. And before a trip, I used to get so anxious. And now I still have those thoughts of anxiety come up, but I've overcome that. And I realized the other day, it kind of hit me that I have not really given myself a chance to reflect on how much I've done over the years. I tend to kind of measure my success and my importance in my to-do list, in everything coming up, right? I very, very rarely will give myself an opportunity to give myself a pat on the back. And I think that's so important to do. I think especially in America, we determine our worth by our productivity, right? By how productive we are, by how many goals we have coming up that we have yet to accomplish, instead of all the goals we have accomplished in the past, instead of everything we've done. And I was sitting there the other day and I was like, damn, Abby, you've done a lot. You've really done a lot. Look at all the goals that you set for yourself that you like made happen, right? And look at these things that you used to be so scared of and how much you've grown since then. Like the other day, Archie got sick and threw up all over my yoga mat. So fun. I didn't get anxious at all. I was just like, oh, that's gross. Let me clean it up. In the past, that would have made me spiral, okay? I would have had to call a neighbor to help me come clean it up because I wouldn't have been able to look at it. And now I'm just like, that's nasty. Ew. What? That's never happened before. Even when I was a kid, I would freak out. My other sister also has the same phobia. So it's been a whole thing growing up. So anyway, I'm really trying to implement that and reflect on what I've done and be proud of myself for it. And this also hit me when, God, this episode is full of story times. But I forgot that this happened until my friend was over the other day, and we were talking about a lot of trauma and everything we've gone through. And I had this dream a while back. This must have been like a year ago. And this dream affected me so much. And it really kind of how do I put it? This dream touched me a lot. And it was heavy. It was a very heavy dream. So I had this dream where I was walking into this school. And I walk into the school, and it was like a preschool or something. I walk through these doors, and all I see in front of me is this little girl sitting on a stool, on like a bar stool. And I remember it so vividly. I rarely remember my dreams super vividly, and this is one that I will never forget. But I walk in, I see this little girl sitting on a bar stool. And I was like, she seems so familiar. Where do I know her from? And I walk up to her, and immediately, as soon as I like see her face, she turns to me, and it was me. It was me as a 5-year-old. And I had my little short bob haircut and my little bangs, and I was in my overalls that I always used to wear and a striped t-shirt, like a pink and blue striped t-shirt. And I look at myself as a 5-year-old, and my immediate instinct, and this kid doesn't know who I am. She doesn't know who I am. She's never seen me before, and she's looking at me really confused, but my immediate instinct is just to give her a hug. And so I gave her a hug, and in my dream, I started crying, and I was like, it's all going to be okay. I'm so proud of you. You're doing so good. I know that things are hard right now, but it's okay. Like, it's going to be okay, and I love you, and I'm so sorry for everything you're going through. And I just got to hug myself and be like, wow, like that's me. And this is this little girl who maybe never got the chance to have that. And to tell her that I was proud of her, and to tell her that I loved her and that it was going to be okay. And I gave her a hug, and then I said, okay, go get to class. And then she walked into class, and I left. And I woke up the next day, and I was like, damn, Abby, you have really been neglecting giving yourself love. You've been giving love to everybody else other than yourself. And I think this like child in me was just screaming for some recognition and for some love about everything we've gone through, you know? And so I've really been trying to implement that in my life of like being proud of everything I've done and everything I've gotten through and the person I've become through it. So as soon as I get into a thought process of what's next, what thing can I put on my to-do list that I can accomplish that's going to make me feel better about myself, I slow myself down and I say, okay, still get your shit done, still do your stuff, but also recognize where you are, recognize how far you come, and recognize how much you've accomplished. And I think we all get in this pattern of measuring our successes by how much we have on our plate. The more I chase, the better I will become, right? But I feel like it always leaves us feeling very depleted and exhausted, because after we accomplish the things, it's immediately on to the next. There's never any time to pause, to give yourself a pat on the back and say, good job, especially if you run your own business or if you are self-employed and you don't have a boss telling you, hey, good job on that, you've done well. It's really hard to sit and give yourself that and to say, I'm proud of you. I'm very proud of you. You're doing great, right? And so without that, it just leaves you feeling empty because you accomplish the things, but then there's no reward. There's no recognition. And it's just this endless cycle of chase, accomplish, and feel like shit. And I'm sick of it. I'm done. I'm giving myself love, okay? We talked about that in the last episode. 2025, we're loving ourselves, all right? And it's as if like once you finish these goals, right, they don't matter anymore. It's as if like you finish it, okay, check the box, done, right? And this also hit me when I was in Scotland last year with a good friend, and we were talking, and I was just talking about all these things I had that I wanted to do, and how I felt like I was never doing enough, and that I didn't think I would ever feel like I was doing enough. And he said, don't lose sight of your accomplishments because you're focused on your ambition. And I have thought about this sentence almost every day since then, since Scotland last year. And it's something that has stuck with me because holy shit, don't lose sight of your accomplishments because you're focused on your ambition. And that is so true. And I do lose sight of my accomplishments because I say to myself, that wasn't as important as what you have coming up. Okay, you've done that, cool, do the next thing. So I've started making it a monthly thing where I'll just write down all the dreams I can think of that I have accomplished to remind myself of that and kind of give myself some recognition and some love and a pat on the back and hug that little girl in me that really wants to be told you're doing a good job. And so I want to read you guys my last monthly roundup of everything. And this has been such a healthy practice for myself because I tend to do a lot of dream journaling of envisioning my dream life, right? Envisioning a life that I could create for myself where everything's perfect and I'm obsessed with my daily life, right? Instead of just maybe making do with what I have now and being obsessed with the daily life I have now. I tend to be kind of an escapist where I will try to, I'll say to myself, once I have this, I'll be happy. Once I have this life, I'll be happy. Once I have this, I will be happy, right? Once I create this for myself, then it'll finally click and I'll finally be happy. Instead of being like, okay, look at what you've already done and maybe you can be happy right now. So my last monthly roundup, right? I sit down with my journal or my laptop or whatever, and I'll just do a brain dump of everything I can think of that I used to dream about and I used to visualize for myself that I've already accomplished. So in my list last month was built my first van, moved to Europe, half built another van, moved back from Europe, built another van in the desert in 6 weeks, became a skydive instructor, jumped off windmills, learned to speed fly, traveled all over the US, adopted and trained a service dog. I don't really think anybody knows that. Archie's a service dog. We did a lot of training for that, but when I was having really, really, really bad anxiety and panic attacks, I trained him as not just emotional support, but like full-on service. So he does know his tasks, and he is my technical service dog. I rarely use that anymore. It was more just like for me. But anyway, adopted and trained a service dog, my boy Archie. Learned to surf, traveled Iceland alone, started climbing, got better at yoga, quadrupled my savings goal, and made people feel smiled and loved. And these are just things that I try to make it like a 10-minute ordeal where I just write down everything I can think of really quick, and then I'll go back and say, good job, good job, good job, good job. I'm proud of you. And this honestly has changed the game for me because I feel just a lot more confident after reflecting, and I just feel a lot better about myself instead of being so goddamn hard on myself all the time and saying like, okay, yeah, you did this, but what's next? And I have had this kind of dread about this summer because I have nothing planned for the summer. I have no big trips. I'm not going to Europe this summer. And for the last couple years, I've been traveling full time over the summers. I have yet to have a summer where I just have nothing on my schedule, and it's made me feel like shit because I have nothing coming up that I'm like, oh, once I accomplish that, I'll be good, you know? So I'm trying to enjoy the fact that I have nothing to do this summer because how big of a blessing is that? That's so fun. I have so many things that I could do and I have so much free time. But anyway, so your homework after this episode is go make a little list of dreams that you've already made happen. This is me challenging you, okay? This is me being your mom right now. Go sit down, take 10 minutes out of your day, make a list of things that you've done. And it could be small, okay? Mine is a little extreme. I tend to be a bit of an overachiever, and I also have a ton of ADHD. So I jump from thing to thing like it's nothing, right? And also I've been very fortunate that my job has allowed me to do all of this stuff over the years, and that it has like furthered my career by doing this stuff, right? Because content. So, but it could be small. Maybe this isn't small, but maybe you gave up drinking and you're sober now. Pat yourself on the back. Maybe you left a toxic relationship. Maybe you pursued a passion for the first time. Maybe you fell in love. Maybe you came out about your sexuality. Maybe you've gone through grief and came out the other side of it. Maybe you've made a new friend, okay? Maybe you got your driver's license. Maybe you overcame a fear. Okay. Write everything down that you can think of. And then after you write it down, remember it and say, I'm proud of you. Okay. Give that little kid in yourself a hug and allow yourself to take a fucking breath. Okay. You've done so much and I'm proud of you. I don't even know you right now. I don't even know who I'm talking to right now. Okay. But just know that I'm proud of you as like your big sis here. I'm very proud of you. And just for being here, I'm proud of you, okay? Existing is hard. Living is hard. Living in this day and age is heavy and tough, and you've gotten through so much, so good job. If anyone hasn't told you today, good job. I'm proud of you, and you deserve to be happy, and you deserve all of the great things happening in your life right now. So, you are not defined by your to-do list. You're not defined by everything you have not done. You are the sum of everything you've experienced and accomplished, and you should be proud of that. So take a breath, give yourself a hug, and then keep going. Okay. That has been really heavy on my mind recently. So thank you for listening to that. Thank you for allowing me to have a space here to talk about this kind of stuff. I just really like talking about these things that I normally wouldn't get to talk about. I don't really sit down with my friends and talk about this at all because I never want to sound preachy to my friends, and I also never want to sound like holier than thou by talking about this. But in the podcast, it's nice because I can just kind of like brain dump and tell you guys whatever is heavy on my mind. And if it applies, it applies. And if it doesn't apply, maybe the next one will. Maybe the next episode will. But I feel like this is a pretty universal topic. So anyway. Okay, guys. We're going to pivot. It's time for a new segment. It's time for a new segment that I'm implementing in the episodes called Dear Abby. And I'm starting this segment a little early in this episode because I want to do multiple of these. But basically, if you didn't see on my Instagram last week, I announced that yesterday I announced this, but it will be last week when this episode launches. I announced that I'm implementing a new segment in the podcast called Dear Abby. Now, if you listen to the last podcast that I was in, not Abby's Place, but I had this podcast with my other friend Abby called Between the Abbies, and we did a few episodes together, and then we ended up having a falling out. A lot of people are wondering why the podcast stopped and why we had a falling out, and I don't think it's fair to talk about what happened without her being here to tell her side of the story. I never want to corner someone into talking about something that they don't want to talk about, and also I don't think that's respectful. So all in all, we ended up having a falling out. We're fine now. Like, wish her the best. It seems like she's doing good. And we're just not close anymore, which is totally fine. But that's kind of all I will say about the situation. I know that like a lot of people, I get so many DMs about it constantly of like, why don't you hang out with her anymore? It just didn't work out. And that's it. But we did have a podcast, and in that podcast, we did a segment called Dear Abbies, where people would write in and they would say something that they're struggling with or a situation they needed advice on that they wanted us to comment on. So I've reintroduced that into this podcast. I didn't know if I was going to do it, but I think it's a really fun thing, and it helps me kind of get closer to you guys. And maybe even though I'm 23 and young and naive as hell, maybe I can share some of my wisdom with you if I have any to give, or maybe I can just relate to you about some of it. So I posted a thing on my Instagram that was like, hey, starting this segment, here's a Google form. Go drop some tea, go drop some questions, go drop whatever you're feeling right now that you'd like advice on. Give it to me and I'll carry it for you, and I'll try to answer it the best I can. So I'm going to try to do 2 to 3 of these per episode. I might do a full episode just dedicated to these questions because there were so many and some of them are really long. But for now, I'm just going to do 2 to 3 at the end of every episode if I have time for it. So without further ado, let's get into Dear Abby. I've picked these out, and I've tried to pick ones that kind of related to this episode. So the first one, she says, Dear Abby, my name is Erica. I'm just looking for advice as a fellow 23-year-old girl. I've just come back from living abroad in New Zealand for 2 years, and I was so happy there. Coming back home to Canada, I've just been feeling stuck and not sure where to go in life. I feel like I'm not sure what I'm doing, and I find myself in a tough space right now. I know I should give myself grace and space to figure it out, but at 23, I feel like I should have an idea of what I want to do in life. not just job related, but life in general. It's hard out here. So any advice from someone I look up to would be appreciated tons. Thanks. Girl, first of all, I relate to this so much. Being 23 is so confusing. Being 23, I think, is one of the hardest ages in your 20s because you are at such a standstill of, I feel like I should know what I want to do right now and I don't. And one thing that I have been trying to remind myself of, because reading this, I was like, that's me. That's exactly how I feel right now. Is like, what the hell am I supposed to do next, right? I don't have anything figured out. I'm at this standstill right now too, of like, what's next on my plate? I don't know. And one thing I was hanging out with one of my friends who's older than me a couple weeks ago, and they said, you can just let yourself be 23, right? You don't have to have it all figured out, guys. Your 20s are for trial and error. And so let yourself be 23. Let yourself go travel. If you have the means to, go travel, go gain some perspective, go somewhere new. The best thing I have ever done for myself in my 20s was traveling and gaining perspective. And whenever I feel stuck or in a place where I'm just overthinking everything and I'm sitting on my couch way too much and I'm in my head, I either go take a short trip somewhere. Going to Salt Lake, honestly, this weekend helped me gain a lot of perspective, and make myself, get myself out of the headspace that I've been in, or just take a walk. Just take a walk and clear your head and set your phone down and go outside and get some fresh air. And yes, take it easy on yourself, but also allow yourself to be ambitious. If there's stuff you want to do, try to make it happen. You have ample time right now at 23 to go do whatever you want. So it doesn't have to be like a big career choice or like something that's going to last forever for the rest of your life. But if there's something that you feel called to do, be 23. Go do it. So all in all, I would say, yes, grant yourself some grace and realize that you don't have to have it all figured out right now. But also allow yourself to be spontaneous while you can. Be 23. It sounds like you don't have a lot tying you down. So go out on a whim. Be spontaneous. Be impulsive. Take risks. I heard Mel Robbins say the other day, I don't regret. She said, I wasted a lot of my 20s because I didn't take any risks. So take risks. Do something out of the box. Do something to make yourself uncomfortable. Go meet some new people, right? That's what I would say. Let yourself be 23. Okay, next, this girl says, Dear Abby, my name is Vanessa. My husband and I want nothing more than to live in a van or preferably a bus. We have 2 teen children who are definitely against joining. We'd have to wait until they're out and stable on their own, and I would never push them out if they weren't ready. Sorry, that was long-winded. I know you're still young, but how do you think older folks would do? My husband is much older, so I'd be late 40s, early 50s, and he'd be somewhere in his 60s. This has been a lifelong dream. Girl, do it. Do it, okay? You have no idea how many people I have met on the road, how many good friends I have on the road that are in their 50s and 60s. I have been to so many van life meetups where a lot of people there are retired or in their 50s and 60s, have children, and have just moved on to the road full time. There is such an amazing community for people out there who are going against the grain. Your age does not matter, right? That's one thing that I think is so beautiful about the van life community is there is never a time where your age is a factor. I have never experienced that. I have been in friend groups where the youngest person was me, 19, and the oldest person was like 65, 70. You can make friends anywhere, and there are so many people doing it. As far as your kids go, I mean, obviously I don't have experience with that because I'm single and I've never had kids and I'm 23, so I don't know how much good advice I could give on that. But I will say that maybe if you can't do it right now full time, maybe you just get like a tow behind trailer or something and do weekend trips. Go on weekend trips with your family. You don't have to make it, a full-time thing. I know that living on the road full-time is very glamorized and it's very sought after, but you can definitely get your fix for traveling by just going and taking a week somewhere or going and, going off for a month or whatever and doing it part-time if you have the means to. So I will say I would recommend that too. But for anyone who wants to do full-time travel, try it part-time first and see how you like it and get some trial and error in there and figure out what works and what doesn't work for you, because you might try out a bus and you might hate it. You might try out an RV and you might hate it. You might try out a van, you might love it. You might try out a bus and you might love it. You know, like you never know. So do some testing. I think you have a really good opportunity here where your kids are old enough to where they can kind of handle themselves if you and your husband want to leave for a weekend and go do your own thing and go travel. So I would say maybe use this as your trial period. And then once they're out and stable on their own, that's when, you know, you've built up your risk tolerance a little bit to this, to where you can maybe go off and do a 6-month trip. You know, maybe you guys drive down to Baja and go down to Mexico for a bit, and you go do your own thing and go meet some travelers down there. There's tons of van meetups everywhere. Some van meetups I recommend if you're getting into van life are Descent on Bend. That's a really good one. There's a lot of van lifers that go to that. Schoolie Palooza is in Quartzsite, Arizona, I believe, every year. Schoolie Palooza, it's in January. I think if you just look up online Schoolie Palooza, you'll find an Instagram page for it. And there's a ton of, obviously, school buses that go there and people of all ages and all demographics. Van Life Pride is a really good one. And then there is a meetup in Baja every year that I've never been to called Escapar, where people drive down to Baja. Everybody meets up on this beach and basically just parties and has fun for a week or two or whatever. So tons of ways to make friends and build community if you're new on the road. But yeah, I'd say try it out for a little bit and then see what happens, and maybe go full time a little bit later on, but don't rush it. But I will say, don't let your age hold you back at all. Like that, don't literally take that off your mind. Take that off your plate. If the biggest thing you're worrying about right now is your age or whatever, don't even worry about it. I promise you, it will not be a factor. You guys should go while you still can and while you're able-bodied. So go live out your lifelong dream. I'm excited for you. Okay, last one here. This one's a bit of a long one, but I really liked it. This person says, Dear Abby, I just started, okay, this first part, I'm blushing. She says, Dear Abby, I just started listening to your podcast because I was on the hunt for something new. I've stuck around because your topics and demeanor are hitting in the emotion department. I may not have lived in a van, but I work as a backcountry guide in Arizona and Utah, which definitely has its own nomadic charm. First of all, thank you. That's so sweet. I've gotten so many messages from you guys about the podcast that are just like paragraphs of you guys saying that you love it and that you are so excited for the next episode. And you have no idea how much that warms my heart. I read every single one of them. I try to respond, but it's hard. But every time you guys message me on my podcast page on Instagram, I am rereading that shit over and over again. It is the kindest thing and it makes my heart so happy. So thank you for that. Thank you for your support and thank you for being here. I'm so happy for this little like safe space and warm, cozy cultivation we've made. Like you guys are so cool. Okay, anyway, she goes on to say, this year has been a whirlwind for me. I unexpectedly lost my cozy full-time guiding job and I was left sitting there thinking, what the fuck just happened? Thanks, REI. Oh my God, I'm so mad at REI right now. And as if that wasn't enough, my boyfriend of 3 years suddenly told me he didn't want to be in a relationship anymore. He's taking a job in Salt Lake City for the summer because he doesn't want to, quote unquote, clip his wings. And apparently monogamy isn't his thing anymore. And can we talk about the fact that he's 32? What? My heart is a bit bruised, but tuning into your podcast during my Monday morning walks has been like a warm hug for my soul. Breakups can feel so silly, especially when they knock you off your feet. And listening to you chatting feels like chatting with a bestie. And I'm raising my glass to a guy who isn't worth my time or tears and our Monday morning chats. Girl, I'm so sorry. When it rains, it fucking pours, okay? When it rains, there's a tornado usually. And it uproots every aspect of your life that you thought was stable. And it fucking sucks. It sucks. I always say the universe whispers until it screams. And when it screams, sometimes it hurts your eardrums because it's so loud, okay? And I, first of all, just want to say I'm so sorry that you're going through all that. I, too, have had a similar experience and can understand where you're at. And I remember exactly what I was feeling in that moment. I was feeling so uprooted and so like, what the fuck is happening? Why is all of this happening all at once, okay? In a span of just a few weeks, a couple years ago, back in 2023, I think, I had lost my job. I got dropped from the agency I was working with because I wasn't making enough money for them. And I was like, what the fuck? And it was very unexpected. So I lost my job. I had gone into so much debt over my van that I felt like I wasn't going to be able to pay off. And my relationship was suffering. I was really debating breaking up with my boyfriend at the time. And my dog got really sick and had to get surgery. There was just so much going on. And then my parents got divorced. So everything happened. That was a 2-month period where all that shit happened. And I was like, I can't catch a fucking break. What? Can someone cut the cameras? Cut the cameras. What's going on? Who's out to get me? What's happening? What the fuck, universe, right? And it sucked. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and be like, it was breaking me for the better, blah, blah, blah. It fucking sucked. It sucked. Allow it to suck. This sucks, what you're going through. It's not fun. It really sucks. And I'm sorry that you're going through it. And I will say, there is light at the end of the tunnel. If this guy is suddenly like, I don't want to be in a relationship anymore, and I'm 32 and I don't want to settle down, boo fucking who, his loss, dude. If he's 32 and acting like that, you do not want that man in your life anyway. And it sucks because you have invested 3 years of your time into this guy, and obviously you have, probably made sacrifices for him and put yourself out for him and gone out on a limb for him and loved him. Obviously, you wouldn't have been with him for 3 years if you didn't love him. But the fact that he so easily was like, I'm taking a job in Salt Lake for the summer because I don't want to clip my wings and monogamy isn't my thing anymore, sounds like he's having his own sort of internal dilemma and it's not about you. And that's hard to understand, but none of that seems like it's about you at all, right? It sounds like he is having his own somewhat quarter life, midlife crisis, whatever, and he's got to go figure that out on his own. And it might be a really big blessing to you and you just don't know it yet. Him leaving might be the best thing that ever happened to you. Okay? It might be amazing. And you know what? It probably is, because, bro, you don't want that 32-year-old man in your life anyway. Trust me, I dated someone that was 35 once, and homeboy should have had better communication for a 35-year-old, is all I will say about that. But let yourself acknowledge that it sucks. Let yourself be like, damn, this is a big fucking bummer of a year. Wow. And also know that you know yourself well enough to know that you're going to handle it. You're going to figure it out. And you're going to make the most of it, and it will not suck forever. It will pass, and it will get easier. It won't always be this heavy, I promise. That breakup, when my ex and I broke up, that breakup, like all in the span of a year, my boyfriend and I broke up, my parents got divorced, I lost my job, all that happened. Shortly after that, I signed with a new agency that ended up being even better for me, and I'm so thankful. And I still work with my agent that I have worked with for years now, and I love her. She is one of my good friends, and I'm so thankful for her. The breakup was the best thing that could have happened to me ever, and it really, really hurt, and it wrecked me for a bit. But I would not be the person I am right now if it wasn't for that breakup. I have become so much more myself since then. My parents' divorce, I will admit, it still sucks. My parents are not together anymore, and going home is really heavy and all that. But I see my mom being my mom for the first time in a while, and I see my dad being himself for the first time in a long time. And seeing them happy, even though it was hard for a long time and they were both very sad for a long time, seeing them happy now makes it worth it. So it will work itself out. It won't always be this heavy. And with him leaving, you are opening up yourself to so much more. And that doesn't mean another relationship. That doesn't mean like you're going to fall in love again right away, but you're opening yourself up to so much more possibility than someone who's going to drag you down like that. Someone who's not going to value you, and sounds like never did in the first place, because someone who values you would not put themselves in a position to lose you. So anyway, thank you for being here. Thank you for the kind words. I'm so happy you're here. That is like the sweetest thing, and I'm so happy we get to hang out every Monday. Anyway, I hope that helped. I hope that was somewhat insightful. You guys wrote in some really, really, really good questions. A lot of people are asking about my OnlyFans. If you don't know, I do OnlyFans. That is something that I started last year, and very controversial. I know. When I started it, I got a lot of hate, and I also got a lot of love. A lot of mixed feelings for sure, but I did start an OnlyFans last year, and I am going to do an entire future episode on that, on my feelings around OnlyFans, what my experience has been like, and just like the ins and outs of it, and do I regret it? Do I not regret it? What's my outlook on it now? So I was debating doing a section of that in this episode, but I really think I'm going to save it for an entire future episode so that we can go into depth on it, because my experience doing OnlyFans is going to be very different than like the average person's experience doing OnlyFans, because I had a following beforehand. So, yeah, anyway, go subscribe. Kidding, not kidding. So yeah, anyway, I am going to talk about OnlyFans in another episode, so stick with me for that. As far as next week's episode, I am going to be in Greece. Obviously, I'm leaving on Saturday and I get back on the 14th. So I'm going to take my podcast filming equipment to Greece, and I'm going to try my best to film there. I honestly, I might go to Best Buy after this and get another phone, because I'm filming on my camera right now, like my big bulky camera, and it just it's not feasible to film on when I'm traveling. So I might go get another phone just to have as a work phone after this, so I can film in Greece, because I'm not bringing that camera or the tripod. But anyway, there might be an episode next week, and if so, it will be filmed in Greece. I think it'd be a really fun segment. I just don't quite know my schedule yet when I'm there, but I am going to try to film one. So stay tuned for that one. There will be a special edition Greece episode if I'm there. If not, I will announce it on my Instagram if there's not going to be an episode. But regardless, I will see you either, next Monday or the Monday after that. But for the end segment, as you guys know, at the end of every episode, we do everything I have been loving recently, whether that's music, books, podcasts, Substack articles, anything that I have been consuming lately that I think you should consume too, because if there's anything I can influence you on, it's healthy media consumption. So let's get into that section. First of all, music I've been loving recently. I have 4 songs for you guys, and I did start finally the Spotify playlist. It is up in my Instagram bio. The link to the Spotify playlist is in Abby's Place Podcast Instagram bio. So go click on that, and all of these songs that I talk about in the podcast will be in that playlist. It's called Podcast Tunes, and it has, the cover is me doing the podcast. So that's up on Spotify, and I've already added all these songs to it. These are so good. First one, Journey to Wherever We May Go by Grand Commander. This song I have loved for a long time. I've loved it since I was living in Arizona when I was 18. And it's just very comforting. The lyrics are really sweet, and it's a big metaphor. The whole song is a big metaphor, and it's very kind and very sweet. And I listen to it, and it's kind of like, sometimes I fall asleep to it because it's such a comforting and sweet song, and I just love it so much. So Journey to Wherever We May Go by Grand Commander, very, very soft, warm song. Second, not a soft, warm song at all, but one that you can scream in the car, okay? I love this song for screaming in the car. Me driving back from Salt Lake in my 4Runner, love this song. It's called Dad's 4Runner by Medium Build. That guy can scream some lyrics, okay? When Medium Build screams, it speaks to my soul. And especially screaming about a 4Runner, me driving my 4Runner screaming that song, movie star moment, main character moment. I felt iconic in that moment, okay? And the lyrics are just so good and so like spiteful. It's the lyrics are like, you got everything you wanted. Yeah, you got everything you need. You got it all figured out, no doubt. Know your shit, made your money, got the man, got the house, so what? You got everything but me. It's so good to scream in the car. I love that song. So Dad's 4Runner by Medium Build. Amazing. Fucking fantastic. Next, another Rex Orange County song. I'm a sucker for that guy. I love him. One of These Days by Rex Orange County. It's just like, did he write that about me? Maybe. I love that song so much. The lyrics in it are so good. When I discovered it, I was like, what the fuck? How does he know me, right? It's one of those songs where you're like, I wish I had written that, because it's so true to my life. One of the lyrics is, doesn't matter if you're making money, you'll always have your brain. And then he goes on to say, will you live a nomad lifestyle, or will you pay the rent this month? And it's just, How does he know me? Anyway, love that song. So One of These Days, Rex Orange County. And then the last one, Act by Richie Mitch and the Coal Miners. That one, I just really, really love the song structure. The melody is really good. And I love the transition between verses in that song. There's some really cool sections and like this soul piano section. It just sounds really cool. And I also love the lyrics. It's very, very good. So Act by Richie Mitch and the Coal Miners. So there's 4 songs for you. Again, they're all up on the Spotify playlist. Next, a movie that I watched recently, which everyone and their mother is watching right now, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. Do I need to say any more? That movie is amazing. And a lot of people are saying it like wrecked them and destroyed them and they were crying at the end. Bro, I felt so hopeful at the end. I felt really good at the end of that movie. It is really sad, but it made me really excited about falling in love again. Like, shout out to the last episode where we talked about falling in love and how amazing that is. If you haven't listened to that one, go listen to it because it's one of my favorite episodes we've done so far, episode 5. But Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. I love that one. Next, Strawberry Apricot Red Bull. Yeah. This shit's so good. It tastes like a gusher. Maybe I shouldn't influence you to drink that because chemicals and probably microplastics and everything bad for you is probably in this. But you know what? If I'm going to drink an energy drink, I'm going to drink an energy drink. And it's going to be a strawberry apricot sugar-free Red Bull. You know that? It's so, oh my God, it's so good. I'm addicted to it. Me, addicted to caffeine and stimulants. Who would have thought? Not really, but kind of. I just haven't been sleeping enough. Anyway. Next, I've never done a product thing on here, but I have discovered a new skin product recently that I've been loving, so I want to share with you guys because a lot of people message me and like, what do you use for your skincare routine, blah, blah, blah. And I finally figured out a good skincare routine, but I did start using this product the other day and it's, Avery had it at her house and then I started using it there and I was like, this is amazing for my skin. So the brand is called Pharmacy, Pharmacy. And I think it's like a green tea face wash and then their honey milk moisturizer. Oh my God, my skin has never felt so good. It feels like so hydrated and so nice. And I love that stuff. So Pharmacy I'm loving that brand. Not sponsored at all. I just spent so much money on it yesterday, but love Pharmacy. If you're going to go get some skincare, go check out them. I got it at Sephora. But yeah, anyway, that's it. Those are my favorites. This was a long ass fucking episode. Thanks for sticking with me through it. I hope that it wasn't as chaotic as I think it's going to be. I feel like I've talked about everything and anything in this episode, but yeah, thanks for sticking with me. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for coming over. Hopefully next week I'll see you guys in Greece. How fun would that be? Special edition Abby's Place, but POV we're in Greece. So maybe see you next Monday. Maybe see you the Monday after that. Regardless, I will see you soon. And that's it. Yep. Okay. Thanks for coming over. See you next Monday. Love you. Bye.